All right, we're going to change out the pickups in this casino. I've already removed the two screws that hold the pick guard in place, and I've removed the strings because I don't think anyone needs an instructional video on removing strings or removing a pick guard. Two hole screws. Now, the tailpiece I'm going to remove so that it doesn't flop around. This is a trapeze tailpiece. It just hooks underneath here. And so without strings in place, there's nothing really holding it. I don't want it to bang around and damage the wood. I'm also going to give the body a nice cleaning in this process, but that'll be later. On most tunematic bridges, at this point, I'd remove the bridge because it would also possibly fall off and damage the body. In the case of this one, I've got a Faber on there that locks, so it's not going anywhere. So the first thing I want to do is loosen remove the pots, not the pots, the knobs, sorry. And I'm using this thing from Music Nomad. It is both a good tool for moving nuts like this, and also for levering up pots without damaging the body. It's got felt on the bottom. If you don't have one of these, I think they're about $12. You can use a shoestring wrapped underneath several times and pull up, or you can sometimes do it with a thin cloth, just so you have even pressure around the knob on all sides, so you don't crack the plastic, which can happen if you lever it from just one side. I also use this tool to remove knobs on amps. I put those to the side. And now, normally, I would be very careful removing these because I wouldn't want them to fall on the body and be unreachable. And I wouldn't be able to pull them back out. And I would probably tie a bit of dental floss to each one, or sometimes bus wire. In this case, though, I'm going to pull them all out, and I'll put them all back with different wire connecting them. So I'm going to disconnect. I just remove all the nuts here. At that point, I find it easier to take the socket off the tool. In the previous video, I mentioned that the holes in the body that existed already for the pots and the jack are the correct diameter for for imperial pots, the 3/8 inch bushing. But this one was too small. I did have to ream this one out. So now I'll remove these two factory P90s, which I find very, very dark. When I mentioned that they were very dark, I even showed how dark they were, even in comparison to a 335. A lot of people said, "Oh, that's the metal covers. Take those, get some plastic covers. Those pickups will sound brighter." That's true to a very small degree. Yeah, plastic covers don't roll off as much high end as the nickel covers, but I've played an awful lot of 50s and 60s P90 equipped guitars with nickel covers that still had plenty of high end. And I've got the covers on both my Gibson. Both my Gibsons have the covered PAF style pickups in them, and both of them have a very nice high end, much more than these P90s here. Now the Fralins I'm putting in here also have nickel plated covers, but the Fralins are made by the Fralin covers are apparently made by the same company who stamps them out for Gibson USA for the custom shop stuff, not the import stuff. So the materials used to make covers matters a lot, and there are differences, though I don't remember what the proper type is right now. Someone in the comments will know. Let me put a paper towel down here, or a cloth down here, so that I don't scarf the body when I pull the pickups out. Now these pickup leads don't just go to the pots. There are also some little connectors on the bottom, on the inside, to hold the wires more or less in place. Like you'd find that come with acoustic guitar pickups that kind of bend, little tabs that bend over, and they're a little bit hard to reach. I can see one here. Let me open it up. It's one of those things where it's like a bit of metal like this that it just bends on itself, and the other side's got a sticky pad. I may or may not reuse them when I put the new wiring in. but I'm just freeing them. I know there's one there. I think there's one there too. You can kind of feel them and nudge them around. Now, everything should pull out of the bridge pickup hole in this guitar. It's a fully hollow. The thing I'm watching out for, there's one of the volumes, is the bridge ground, which is going back here. I don't want to pull it out and break it and have it fly off into the body. I mean, if it happens, I can recreate it, but I'd rather not have that happen. So just trying to be mindful as I go. There's the bridge ground right there. This goes to the output jack. And the tooth washer from the output jack just fell in the body. That's fine. So here is the bridge ground. And I need to separate this from everything else. Let me get another paper towel down here in this area. And I'm going to desolder that. Then I'm going to tape this wire to the body using some non-stick painter's tape that won't affect the finish. On most Gibsons, or at least traditionally, the wire from each pickup is covered in metal braid, and the ground wire is actually a solid bus wire, which kind of wraps around the braid, right about here underneath the guitar. It's kind of a pain in the butt. This is actually a better way to do it, as long as this ground connection is good. So at this point, I'm just going to tape this to the side right here. And I'll make sure that it's not going to be poking into the guitar. That's good. Now I'm going to desolder this wire here, which is the neck pickup. So I'll disconnect it at the pot here, and then at the body of the pot. All right, so there's the neck pickup. And the bridge pickup and the volumes and the switch and the output jack are all together, and they can stay together for the moment. The next thing is the funnest part of this. I say that because it's fun to say things like funnest. It's grammatically incorrect. Anyone for whom English is a second language, I probably shouldn't do things like that. The most fun part is coming up next. All right, I've got a piece of white paper here, and I'm going to tape it to the body in a few places. I'm going to take this number 2 pencil, and just like we learned to do in kindergarten, I'm going to find where all the holes go. All right, now I know where the jack will be. I know where the neck pickup controls will be. I know where the bridge pickup controls will be. I know where the switch will be. I know where the F-hole is. And the reason I want to know where the F-hole is so when I do the wires in here, I know where the F-hole is, and I can avoid that. So the wire dress will be like this, so none will be visible through here. I probably won't have to use those little clips in there. Transfer that piece of paper to the stiff section of cardboard, taped it on there, cut out the holes, just use an X-Acto. It doesn't have to be precise. A little bit of wiggle room. As long as I don't have the wires really taut, as long as I have just a slight bit of slack in them, they'll still be bundled very neatly and go where we want them to go. And on the other side, where I'll mount the components, I went ahead and marked neck and bridge, just because when I'm looking at this and the pots are upside down, from a player's perspective, that's always the bridge, that's always the neck. Just too many years of playing Gibsons, and it's inverted, so that'll keep me from making a wiring mistake, or at least keep me from making that wiring mistake. Anyway, on to the next bit. All right, here's the old harness mounted to my template. You can see it's very loosely mounted because there's no point in tightening it up all the way, but they're going to stay where I want them. And you can see there was quite a bit of extra slack in the original, and this wire that they used for shielding was not very good. And a lot of the wiring in here this is shielded, though it doesn't look it. That's some shielding that I put in that I'm going to redo. And there's a lot of excess here going to the switch, which made this very stiff and hard to move around where I wanted to. This is roughly where the bridge pickup is in relation, and this wire was not long enough to bring around this way, which is why you have to have it like this to avoid being visible through the F-hole, which is why they have a clamp there and there in the body. We will not be using any of the wire. I'm going to redo all the wiring. These are my pots and my soldering, including some excess there, just because there was so much necessary to be grounded there. They had so much excess on their old, they had a really weird looking lead on the neck pickup like this one here, only more so. It'll all be good. And these are some Panasonic ECQ caps that I put in here. I like the sound. There's nothing wrong with them. And they're very small, so they fit through the opening of the body and slide into place without obstructing things. A lot of ES-style guitars will have a cap between the volume pot and the tone pot, physically connecting them. And those can strain. As soon as any pot comes loose and they turn, they break, and then you've got a real problem. It's one thing to tighten a pot. It's another thing you've got to take the entire thing apart to and pull it out to resolder a cap. So I do them like this, like you might find on a Telecaster. And I just have a wire, in this case a shielded wire, going from one to the other. So even if a pot comes loose, there's no strain on a connection. Anyway, let me undo most of this and we'll start afresh. Well, I got this far with everything disconnected and most of that excess solder off without overheating the pots, and was ready to put everything back together. And I realized I was out of the heat shrink in the diameter that necessary. I want to put some heat shrink on the metal wire going to the bridge pickup so it doesn't brush up against this switch. And I want to have some heat shrink tubing available. So I'm going to have eventually the bridge pickup here, to the bridge pickup, from the bridge pickup to the switch, to the neck pickup, from the neck pickup to the switch, and from the switch going to the output jack, all running together. And those wires I'm going to want to bundle together neatly with some short lengths of heat shrink. And I am out of that one diameter. I've got many kinds smaller, all different colors, many ones larger. I'm just out of that one. So I'm going to run to a Home Depot or Lowe's in the morning and pick some up and just get this finished then. So I guess stay tuned for part 2. Until then, thanks for watching.